Welcome to Code Station.
Welcome back to the next part of our PHP course. Today we are going to learn about the super globals, application, different types of super globals provided by PHP and how to work around them. So get and post super globals. These two super globals are essential in web development and play a significant role in sending and receiving data between servers and clients. There are various different types of super globals and have different applications. These two are used to take information, for example, from a form and give it to the database. So the procedure is what we are going to learn today. We'll explore the differences between get and post and explain how they can be used in PHP. By the end of this session, you will have a clear understanding of what these superglobals are and why they are important in web development. So let's have a look at some of the superglobals available. Superglobals are basically a group of special global arrays that are accessible from any part of your PHP code without the need to declare them as a global variable. They contain information about various aspects of the server, user, and application. That is when you start session or when you take a session variable and place a username or a password to see if it is login, then only access the home page. Similarly, so superglobals are prefixed with a $sign and are written in all capital letters. So $_get, $_post. So these are some of the examples of superglobal variables that are available. Get and post, as we are discussing today. Session and cookies are also a type of superglobals that are used to store information either on server or on a client's PC that we will see in the next video. $_get is used to collect form data after submitting an HTML form with the HTTP GET method. Data submitted via $_get variable is visible in the URL as it appends to the URL after a question mark and separated by appearance. Like the fields of the form are append to the URL so that the information that we are sending through form is visible in the URL if we use the get method. Then it is suitable for non-sensitive data or where you want to share or bookmark the resulting URL because it is visible when you are working with the get method. The data in get method is accessible via an associative array where the keys are the names of the form elements and the values are the submitted data. The get variable, you simply reference it by the name in your PHP code. For example, if you wanted to retrieve the value of parameter name ID in your form, then you use the $ID or any variable to store that value is equal to $get and in the square bracket you write ID because it's an associative array. You use ID, which is the key for accessing the value. This would store the value of ID parameter in the variable for further use. So here you can see there is a form.php, a form, simple form, which is taking name and age as the input, and this action parameter. This action parameter is where when we click on submit, the further process is going to happen, and the method we are using is the get method. So these you can see the name, that is name is the first key in an associative array, and the second one is this age, and then we will check if the submit button is clicked, that is, and then in this process.php we'll access these values from the form. So in name we get to store the name value which contains whatever we give it, and similarly for age. So when the user submits this form, the data will be appended to the URL. So this is an example. So when in form.php, when we click submit, then the URL will become process.php question mark name is equal to John. Then it will be appended using an ampersand sign, and then age is equal to 30. So this cannot be used to share any password or banking related stuff because it is clearly visible in the URL. So next up we have the post method. The post superglobal is another superglobal in PHP that is used to collect data submitted through a form. Same like get method, but there are some differences we'll discuss later. So unlike the get superglobal, superglobal which appends the data to the URL. The post sends the data in the HTTP request body, so we cannot see the data in the URL. This makes the post superglobal more secure than the GET because the data is not visible in the URL. However, it also means that the amount of the data that can be sent is limited by the server's configuration. So it is limited. It is important to note that the post superglobal should only be used for sensitive data like passwords and credit card information because it is not visible in the URL, it is more secure than GET. Similarly, same as the GET one, we have a form here. So a little changes username and password. So same, we are processing it in process.php, but here the method, as you can see, is post. So this name, username and password are the keys for associative array because superglobal creates an associative array. When we check if submit is clicked, then in process.php, by using the $post, we can access the values. We are saving username and password, but which is not anywhere shown, not in the URL, but it is given through a HTTP request. We have discussed what GET and POST are, their implementation, their working and application. But you can see that both of them are used for similar things, that is getting data from form, that accessing these values that we get from form in our code. So what is the difference and which one to prefer most? Let's see. The key difference between GET and POST lies in how they transmit data. GET sends data through URL while POST sends data through the HTTP request body. Second, another important difference is that GET is less secure than POST because GET sends data through URL. It is more vulnerable to attacks like SQL injection and cross-site scripting because it is visible, the data is clearly visible in URL. Next, POST on the other hand sends data through the request body, which makes it more difficult for attackers to intercept or modify the data. Similarly, there are some ways to tackle this situation. So when handling user input with GET and POST, it's crucial to validate and sanitize the data to prevent security vulnerabilities like SQL injection and cross-site scripting attacks. You should never trust user inputs, always validate and sanitize it before using it in your application because any SQL query can be fired because this data goes into database. If the user input anything besides its username, if there is a hacker, besides username, if he enters any SQL command like drop table or anything, then the whole database may be harmed. So there are some ways to tackle this situation which we will learn in further course. So to keep in mind, you need to always validate your user input. Use functions like HTML, special tags and prepared statements for database queries can help improve security. We learn all this when we are introduced to the database topic. Since we conclude with GET and POST superglobal, we have covered the basics of it and their syntax. So in summary, we have covered the basics of GET and POST. We have learned that these are predefined variables that can be used to access data from HTML forms or URLs. We have seen how they differ in terms of security and usage and when it is appropriate to use. Knowing the key difference between both of them, you can work with both of them depending on your situation and application requirements. It is important to understand the differences between superglobals to ensure the security and functionality of your application. By using these variables correctly, you can create more robust and secure web application because security comes first. Thank you for watching and make sure to use these superglobals in your application to make it more secure and efficient. We'll learn about their practical implementation when we start working with the database.